We're back with another video about heat pumps. I know, yeah, but Adam from Geek has been in touch with us because he's got an exciting new development and they're launching it with this video. So let's have a look at the video, see what we think, shall we?
We built a system that enables 60% of homes to have a heat pump for less than the cost of a boiler swap, and sometimes even for free. These installs are also way faster, way less disruptive to your home, and literally guaranteed to hit the efficiency you want to save on fuel bills. And this could flip the whole heating industry on its head. There's one heat pump objection that literally everyone keeps on throwing back at us. Heat pumps are just too expensive. And honestly, until now, they were right. And even with the government bus grant of $7.5 grand, normal people don't have double the price of a boiler replacement laying around to gamble on a new heating system. Certainly not when you have to rip your whole house apart to install it too. Designing a heat pump system is a little bit nuts. Weeks of back and forth, guesswork, loads of mandatory paperwork and compliance, rules of thumb like making sure you always use a hot water cylinder with the word heat pump written on it, contingency, oversized radiators, a ton of insulation advice, and then, even after that extensive list and the full disruption of putting the thing in your home, you still had to wait a full year to see if the efficiency stacked up to pay back against your old boiler. So we did 5 very specific things very differently. First, we set out by developing the world's first LiDAR room scanner heat loss app. This sped up the whole process and got us much more accurate data about the home, and now we have more insights here than anyone else in the industry. Secondly, we made it mandatory to live monitor every one of our installations so homeowners could access the industry's only minimum efficiency guarantee. This gave us an incredible amount of detail on how HeatGeek's designs worked in real life. And thirdly, by overlaying the real-world installation performance data over the scanned homes, we gained insights into how heating systems performed that simply weren't accessible before. This allowed us to cut out a ton of unnecessary fat. We also saw how much efficiency different hot water cylinders can achieve, and that we can challenge the practice of swapping hot water cylinders every time we do an upgrade. And with this huge stream of data coming onto our platform every minute, we're still learning more every single day.
So what Adam is saying here really is that most of the criticisms that I had about heat pumps and installation and the shortcomings in terms of being installed into UK housing were entirely justified, and now they're going to fix it. But only after flushing millions of pounds of taxpayers' money down the toilet, producing systems that didn't work, didn't keep people warm, didn't save them any money. We get loads of emails on that.
The world's first AI heating system designer that predicts exact radiator and hot water sizing configurations to cut out all of the fat and guesswork, while accurately targeting system efficiency and for the absolute minimum disruption to the home and for the absolute minimum cost.
Hang on a minute, did he just say previously heat loss calculations involved guesswork? A couple of years ago he was telling me that the whole thing was very precise and you had to go on one of his training courses, learn all about installation of low temperature systems, and now they're saying, we used to kind of put the finger in the wind a little bit.
It gave us 40% less parts for the same efficiency, way less radiator swaps.
Come on Adam, fewer, not less. You've got to have standards.
It reduced our customers' cost to pay by 75%, from nearly 12k all the way down to 3k. And 60% of our quotes were cheaper than a boiler swap alternative.
So now, finally, we got the truth here that heat pump installations previously were wasting millions of pounds of taxpayers' money. And the reason was that because they got that government grant, the price was being inflated. And now, miraculously, due to a bit of AI, they found that they can reduce the price. Probably they've just run out of mug punters. And now, after getting those zealots, the early adopters, the people who wanted to save the planet, they've now got to come down to earth and start dealing with people who have only got a limited amount of money to spend on this stuff.
We literally had quotes come in for the same cost as the bus grant, so the homeowner essentially gets a free installation.
Please Adam, don't keep using that word free. I look for the catch. And the catch here is that it may be free to the householder, but it's not free. That's taxpayers' money there. That's me and you paying for other people's heating systems.
Without HeatGeeks, this system simply would not work.
Geek came out on top owing to their more realistic heat loss calculation, guaranteed overall system efficiency of 3.43, not one single radiator change.
Look at this. I can't believe that Adam has let that picture slip through. There isn't a Heat Geek installer out there who would consider this to be an acceptable installation. I've seen them. Look at John Morgan's one. Look at the insulation and the way that they glued all the joints together, mitered everything in. I mean, this is just terrible. Take that picture down quickly before you have a mutiny from your installers.
No more explanations of low temperature design and hydraulic layouts. No more countless emails back and forth between the homeowner and the engineer. This isn't just quicker, it guarantees the cheapest way to hit any efficiency target, and it changes the economics of heat pumps forever.
Ooh, that's a long time, Adam. Forever. What you actually mean is until the government grant runs out, and then you're going to see tumbleweed blowing through your head office. I can guarantee it, because it's happened so many times before. Money being pumped into an industry, and then once the government grant disappears, all the sharks are going looking for a new pool. We always believe in being fair on skill builder, putting both sides of the argument. I know some of you don't believe that. You believe that I'm just hell-bent on destroying the market, but I'm not. I want to bring realism to it. We're going to give Adam the right of reply here. I'm going to get him on the line and see what he's got to say. Hello, Adam. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Roger. I'm very excited. How are you?
I'm all right. I mean, you know, maybe not as excited as you, but you know, you certainly seem to be revved up by this latest idea of yours. So it seems very interesting, but I've got to ask you one question. When I first met you, you were quite critical of a lot of the things I said about heat pumps, and that's all right. You're a bit rude, and that was all right. Are you now saying that I was right about all these things? Because it seems to me that you're no longer in denial about the shortcomings of heat pumps and installations and all the rest of it, and you've come more or less onto the ground which I was occupying. No?
My opinion hasn't changed at all on heat pumps, no. I
so
had
why
quite
do
a
you
strong
need this?
opinion back then.
So why do you need this? This seems to me to be addressing a lot of the problems that I talked about. So if you're saying that those problems didn't exist and that you haven't changed your mind, why would you need to invent a product that solves the problems?
I've never said they're cheap. That was a problem I've never been able to deny. They're reserved for people with money, unfortunately, and that's why this needs to. Everyone should have access to a heat pump. We've had to make them affordable. To be honest, as a snooty plumber, I enjoy doing the higher end work and the more posh work. But that's not really going to move things forward. Moving things forward is when it's available for everyone, and it also gives people the chance to access savings. Like energy is getting more and more expensive, and it's only going to go up in cost. This is going to make a big impact, and that's why I'm so buzzy about it.
Basically, you've run out of mug punters at the top end, and now you're going down to the grubby, the people like me that have been hanging out saying, no, it's too expensive, I'll just have a gas boiler replacement. That's fair enough. But listen, we've got to chase the money, haven't we?
We've not run out of those. No, we've got more punters that we're growing month on month. We've got more high-end punters than ever, I would say. But at the end of the day, we could go on and dominate that part of the market. It's not going to make the change we need. What we need is to change the other 99% of homes, not the 1% that are into tech and into this sort of renewables just because they like spending on gadgets for their house. We need to make it accessible to normal people.
Normal people. Come forward, normal people, if you exist. Adam's got something for you. Okay, so you talk about this as being more accurate and that the calculations were very complicated before, and you talked about it's taking out the guesswork from that. What was the guesswork? Because you didn't tell me anything about guesswork when I spoke to you some time ago. You said it was all very complicated and needed to do your course to. So what you're saying now is that this AI, to use that phrase, artificial intelligence, I'll call it digital intelligence, that's taken out a lot of the errors that people made, or what?
You have to make a lot of assumptions when you design a home because you don't know how often they're going to keep windows open, or you have to take a best guess approach at how many air changes there may be in a house. There's lots of these little things, how much hot water they might use on average. All these little things, you kind of put a worst case here and a bit of a worst case there. And because there's so many things you design a system on, add them all together and you end up with something quite sizable. What this does is this has measured the real world installations. It looks at it from fresh. What size heat pump do they really need? How much hot water are they really using? and then we're cutting out all of those assumptions. So I say the word guesstimates or guesses. Really, they're assumptions, and you have to design around some kind of assumption. And then we leave a little bit room in case, obviously, there's a new homeowner in the home. So we have to design for the home itself, but it's more grounded in reality.
That's very interesting. So if somebody doesn't wash very much, if all they do is have one shower a week, and they sell their house, and the new occupants want to have one shower a day, they are stuffed because you've designed your heat pump. You've said, I'm not going to put in a posh cylinder, I'm going to use the old cylinder, and now that's no good.
No, it's not that. We've measured. We're not measuring the person who's we're giving the heat pump to, their life. We've measured all the other people that have, and we average them out. So the average 2 people in this type of house would use this much water. If there's one that uses less, that's kind of an anomaly. We ignore that. And that's how we get to the real world results.
That's interesting, actually, because there was this case of that a long time ago in marketing. It's very famous. It was called the Ed Cell, where they designed a car based upon they got all this data together, and they made this car, and it was supposed to be Mr. Average, like everything was averaged out. What colour bumper do people like? What do they like? What shape wing do they like? And it was the biggest flop ever. It just never sold because it didn't
I appreciate
anybody.
your vote of confidence.
I'm just trying to save you from another embarrassment, because you can't take too many more, quite honestly. Heat Geeks has come straight round to my way of thinking, and they won't admit it. And you're now in new territory where you're trying to get AI to fish you out of a hole, which is great. Everybody's doing that, So good on you, mate. I like your staying power. So
we've the hole's quite deep now. We're 5 times up on the amount of installations we were doing this time last year, and a customer track record. If you look on FIFA, you can see our reviews. We're doing very well. Heat pumps seem to do work in old homes. They seem to keep the home quite warm.
I'm full of admiration. I went along to that job with John Morgan. I watched your guys, and I'm full of admiration for the guys doing the work. I think they're fantastic. I really do. What I'm saying is that you are the tip of the iceberg. You're the creme de la creme. And I said this before, you're not going to be able to solve this problem for all these people, because if we're dealing, now you talked about 99% of homes having heat pumps. That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. There's nowhere to put them for a start in a lot of homes. But anyway, take that aside. If you got to 50%, it would be amazing, but you couldn't handle 50%. You couldn't get anywhere near it. So you're kind of laying the ground for other people in a way.
Yeah, this is giving people access. So giving access to the 99%. You're absolutely right, though. This would literally, I'm not the creme de la creme at all. Like, I've been off the tools way too long. The installers are much better than me now. They're now telling me what needs to be done. And without them, this is not AI's fixed it. This is AI plus the best engineers in the UK. And not everyone could be the best in the UK, obviously. You're right. We haven't got the workforce alone. We are going to grow the workforce. We're going to train up more engineers. This does pave the way, like you say, though, for other people to try and look at things a little bit differently. And that we're going to show that things can be done a lot cheaper whilst maintaining the efficiency and the quality and the quality of install that pays back. And if we can do it, why can't you? I guess we're just at the front of the race at the moment, but it's all got to start from somewhere. We can't click our fingers and get enough heating engineers tomorrow. We probably need another few thousand in Heat Geek, and we'll be putting a big dent in, but we need others to get on it as well and start improving their practices.
You have said in your video that the government money won't be around forever. When do you say it's going to run out? 2027 or something, was it?
It's looking more like 2028 now, maybe even 2029 possibly.
That depends whether reform get in. Because if reform get in, the whole lot's out the window anyway. So it relies upon you having a benevolent government, one that's got a bit of money, and we know that they're running out of money. What's going to happen to the industry when the money runs out? This is a real, because I think you'd just be tumbleweed blowing through your offices. I can't see how, I've said this in the past, how the hell does an industry go from being heavily subsidised to not subsidised at all? They're not even going to tail it off. They're just going to stop it. Take away that £7,500 and the whole picture looks very, very different, doesn't it?
This is just the beginning. So we've made this system, this zero disrupt system, that learns from the installs and it keeps on feeding back in. So we're going to ever refine this learning process. This is our first stab in the dark, and we're already down at those numbers. When we do the learning, we'll be able to get it ever more and more refined and cheaper and cheaper. So that's step one. Step two is that this is going to up our numbers. We're going to be getting cheaper heat pumps. We're going to be getting all the parts cheaper because we're aggregating all the parts, which is going to drive down costs.
Are you talking about you are going to have your own branded heat pumps?
The industry and us, because so the installers, the Heat Geek installers install for us. We aggregate the parts though, because we give the guarantee on their job. So we guarantee they're going to get X efficiency, whatever efficiency we promise. And because of that, we supply the parts. The industry is going to get more parts, yes, but we're going to be buying more parts, which drives down costs for us as well. There's 1.6 million gas boilers bought every year. That's the reason they're so cheap. If you're up those numbers, we're down in the tens of thousands for heat pumps still. If we're up at those numbers of heat pumps, they would be a lot cheaper. So that's the second part, is that's also going to drive. So we're on a continual thing that's going to drive down costs. You're also going to have energy costs. They're going to rise still. But so at the end of this sort of run of bus, what we should have at the end is higher energy prices, which we don't really want for gas, heat pumps, access savings. If we've got cheaper installs, way cheaper than we'll have today, and higher and more potential savings, you should be able to offset one by the other. If we finance them, or if someone has the money up front, it's going to make more economical sense to purchase. So that's the plan out the other end if, God forbid, the money is pulled out, because there's 500 million in heat pumps at the moment in bus, but I don't think it's ever going to be the 17.5 billion that gas and oil get every single year for.
You do know that they've stopped the subsidies. This is something that COP26 agreed, that they would stop the subsidies for gas and oil.
Has that been done?
Yeah, that's completely done. That's across the board. Interestingly,
gas and oil subsidies have all been stopped. Subsidies and tax breaks have all been ended.
Okay, no. What the tax breaks are now being given for is the dismantling of all those oil rigs, because the oil companies are saying, hang on, we didn't know this was part of a deal. They're saying, we don't want you sinking those in the North Sea or leaving them there as pirate radio stations in the future. We want you to take them all away. So they're saying, okay, look, if we're going to do that, we need to get a tax break on that, which is coming out of the profits of the oil that they previously had. But this whole idea of tax breaks and subsidies for the oil and gas industry is based upon the fact that we wanted a lot of money up front to explore and develop those oil fields in the North Sea. And a lot of it came from the Americans and various other people. And they said, okay, for those development costs, we want a tax break, which is exactly the same as you get in a lot of other industries, like the film industry and all those things. They've all had tax breaks, and
we had to give them tax breaks. We had to. That's how you keep industry going. This is what kept the people driving around. This is what kept lorries going. This is what built the economy. So you should have tax breaks, absolutely. And we also importantly had them because we didn't have another option at the time. Now we do have another option. We have heat pumps, which are receiving nothing in compared to what that allowed you to the whole system to build up this gas supply and boiler installations, which made sense. We're trying to do the same thing with heat pumps with a smidgen of the investment.
The subsidies that they put into oil and gas came back because, as you know, on every litre of fuel you buy at your pump, there's 52 pence of that goes to the government straight away, plus 20% VAT. So they got that money back over and over and over again. With a heat pump, you can subsidise it. It goes into the pockets of the householder. They get a free heating system, as you said earlier in the video, or a cheap one. That's not rich people, normal people. That's got no ongoing benefit for the people in terms of getting a rebate on the thing. So I understand this, but I think that when you start playing
more money in the pockets of the poor and those with normal amounts of money, it's good. It's more money in circulation. Yeah. We should stop giving money to rich and more to poor. But this is typical for us to go into politics in a heating conversation.
I'm not, only because you made the comment. If you had made the comment about oil and gas and everything else, then I wouldn't have had to come back on it. But I just want to, for clarity, just say what was happening in the oil and gas industry.
I will definitely look into that. As far as I'm aware, they've not. There may be some money going towards to help them, but
it's finished. It's finished because it was an international agreement to finish it. The only people that have broken ranks with it are the Germans, who are now heavily subsidising it, but only because they went so far down the green route in putting in solar and wind farms and everything else. Then they came unstuck because they were importing oil from Russia, and the whole thing's come back to bite them. They're now opening up coal-fired power stations. They're now subsidising oil and gas.
You have to, because we're all buying gas and oil from Putin, and he controls the range. If he controls the supply, he controls the cost. That's why you have to get off gas and oil as soon as possible and onto electricity, because at least you can produce locally.
I mean, a lot of people have said to me, "Oh, you're against heat pumps, you're against this, you're against that." I am absolutely not. I love the idea that we go to renewables. I just think that this is one of those things that's just not very well thought out, because I think there are things to be done there. Do you know, in 2 minutes there is enough energy coming from the sun to power the entire world, and that is all the cars, all the heating, everything else that we need electricity for a whole year. It should be possible somewhere down the line to say, let's just take a percentage of that. And heat pumps do that. To be fair, heat pumps are taking that solar energy, that's what it is. They're moving it from one place to another. They're not increasing it. I think it's great technology if it works, and where it works, it's good. But it doesn't work everywhere, as our emails we get week after week, people saying, get heat geeks around here. We need to, because they've seen the John Morgan one. They think you're going to go around rescuing every bad heat pump installation in the country.
The heat pump probably should work in their home, because, like I say, we can give an AI thing to anyone. It is down to the local engineer, and that's what we're all about, is promoting that local engineer. They've got to know what they're doing. And this is why it needs more investment in training. If you're going to invest in heat pump, to train engineers how to get a proper outcome, because at the moment the training is a few-day course. You turn up, you could be asleep the whole time, and you'll still come out certificate, and then you can go and ruin some people's houses, which is not fair.
I've been on enough training courses to know that everybody passes. When they give you that,
it's not a training course. It's a sales day.
When they give you the exam, I mean, I've done my unvented course so many times, and there's always somebody that fails, and they take him into a room and they give him the answers to the question, and he comes out with the same ticket as the rest of us. I wish you luck with this, but I think you're going to need it, quite honestly, because I think you're going to pull that back. Well, no, only because, look, I'd love you to succeed. I really would. I'd love the whole world to go green and be lovely, and we weren't burning any more fuel. I'm a cyclist. I loved cycling around London and having no cars. It's great. It's fantastic. Let's be realistic and take it one step at a time. Just in response to that, then, and I appreciate your goodwill. Just to show how confident we are behind it, we do guarantee the efficiency of every installation. So I'm saying these can be done in all houses. They can be done in all houses, and we guarantee the efficiency. If anyone's going to get one, or even argue against them, this is the number one thing that you need, is a guarantee on how efficient it's going to be, because that's going to tell you whether you're going to get ripped off every year on your fuel bills, or get paid back. And that's the main thing we're really spotting, is this guarantee for way less stuff in your house for a higher efficiency. That's brilliant, but I still worry about what you're going to do with your business once the government pulls out of it, but we'll see. I will bet you the year that bus goes, because I agree it's likely it's going to go, the year that the grant goes, from that point, we will continue to grow. And if we do, I challenge you, you have to give a sizable, hefty check to homeless people in the South Bank area. I'll do Bitcoin. All right, no, listen, I'm quite willing to write a check for charity if you're proved to be right. All right, let's go for that, yeah? So I gave Adam a bit of a pasting there, but he took it in good spirit, and I do love the heat geeks. I do think they're the best out there, and if you need a heat pump, if you want a heat pump, then why not go to the best? So go to the Heat Geeks website, and all the info's there, and you'll be warm this winter, maybe. Brilliant. I can't resist it.